What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Trank Tactical. So today I'm going to be going over my latest get home bag setup. So this is the bag I keep in my car if something happens on the road and I need to be able to spend one night or get back to where I'm going. So it's got all the essentials in it, and I've taken a lot of time over the years to really dial in the exact gear that I need. Taking a look at the bag here, this is the Kelty Red Wing 45. And what I like about this is it's a backpacking style backpack. So I've got the hip support here to take a lot of the load off. I can also go ahead and attach the chest strap here, and that's going to allow me to really ruck this sack where I need to go. It's also in an olive green, olive drab color, so it's not too, stand out, and it doesn't look tactical, but you'll see that it has all the compartments needed to keep all the gear. So let's go over to the bench top and take a look at the gear inside. So taking a look inside the bag here, we'll go ahead and start with the topmost pocket, which is where I have some of my most accessible items that I want to be able to grab right away. So opening up the top here, very first thing is a headlamp. And the reason for this is you need hands-off lighting in order to really get anything done at nighttime. This is just a pretty inexpensive coast light I get from Home Depot. And there's a very particular reason I get this. It's because one individual button will turn it on straight to red for night vision, for preserving your night vision, and the other one will turn you on straight to white light. So it's super easy to control, and you don't get mixed up trying to switch between modes like so many of the other fancy headlamps. So headlamp is one of the most important things you need. Also in the top pocket here, I've got my fire kit. Being in Minnesota, it gets pretty cold here at night. This is a Hidden Woodsman pouch. I really like his stuff. It's relatively affordable, and it's made very well, and it's made here in the USA. So let's go ahead and take a look at the fire kit here. Okay, so taking a look in the fire kit, first thing I've got is some UCO stormproof matches. These are really good because they pretty much will go no matter if they get wet or whatever, and so it's just a really good, sure way to get some fire going. I've got a little tin here with just some tinder. These are just some little flakes you can use to get a fire going. They work okay, they're not amazing, but I got them at one point or another, so I threw them in here. Probably the first method that I would go to initially is this Bic lighter. I have it in a little Exotac sleeve here just to keep it waterproof, so I can just flip this open and get a flame going. It's a little windy right now, but you can see that sparks, and that's going to be what I'm using 90% of the time to get a fire going. Here, just for redundancy, I've got a little bit of a waterproof case, and inside I've got some cotton balls, a Bic lighter, some Vaseline, and some jute twine just to give me some more options. And then I've also got some wet fire tabs. These work really well for just getting some fuel going. And then lastly, I have a ferrocerium rod, and this is a nice big large one. This is, I think, the Gobspark. Let's see what it's called. Yeah, I think it's called the Gobspark, and it's really big because it's really easy to use in the cold and give you some good sparks. So you can see I can just get some sparks going from this, and that's another pretty sure way to get some fire going. So that's everything in the fire kit, so we'll throw this back in the pouch and keep going. All right, so continuing on with the quick reach pocket, here I've just got a pair of sunglasses. These are going to be good for getting the sun out of your eyes, also protecting your eyes if you're going through the woods during the day or anything, so that you don't get some sort of, twig or branch, something poking you. So it's just good to have a little bit of eye protection. I've got a bandana, obviously lots of uses for that. This one's an American flag one, kind of neat, so I keep that in there. And then finally, I just keep my car insurance and a couple other, AAA card, things like that. Because this is in the vehicle, I might need some of those numbers for reference, and so I keep these handy as a resource. Moving on to the side compartment here, I keep some of my main tools that I want to be able to grab right away. So I'll go ahead and open this side. Here I just have a Mora knife. I like Mora knives because they're relatively inexpensive, but they work really well. And yeah, I just like them a lot, so that's a good one to have on hand. Also inside here, I've got a multi-tool. This is just an extra I had laying around. It's a Winchester multi-tool. It's spring-loaded, which is something I always look for in my multi-tools. It's good to have that spring-loaded action so you can do one-handed operation. Obviously, it's got a few other tools on there, but I go mostly for the pliers. Also inside, I've got a little monocular here, so I can just kind of scout things out from a distance. Nothing special here, it's relatively inexpensive, but it's just a good thing to have on hand. Honestly, if I had a better pair of binoculars, I'd probably put them in here, but this works for now. Moving on to the reverse side here, I've got a few more tools in this one. First thing is just this little LED light, and this is why it's good to check your gear. It looks like this may be out of battery already. but this usually will turn on to a little blinking red, so I can signal with this or put it on the vehicle just to mark that I'm around. So obviously this needs a replacement. One tool I really like, here's the Silky Pocket Boy. This is a really nice little folding saw, really small and compact, but it works really well. These are super good teeth if you've ever tried cutting with them. I actually use this for a lot of tasks just around in the yard. It cuts really well, and it's got a great form factor, so I love having that. Here I've got an Ontario Knives Company pry bar. I got this a few years ago, and basically it's just a really hardened piece of steel in a pry bar formation with some nice micarta handles, and this works really well. It's just a versatile tool for, breaching, entering, or shimming something, whatever you need to do. It's just a good, strong piece of steel. Another essential here is a small pair of bolt cutters. Now I do keep a bigger pair of bolt cutters in the car. These are just a pair of Knipex, and they'll be able to cut through, thin gauge wire or, fencing, things like that I need to be able to get into. So I really like these Knipex. Knipex makes great tools. They got good pliers, just all sorts of things. So that's a really good one. Finally, I've just got a flashlight here. Nothing fancy. This is just a rechargeable flashlight. It's good to be able to have more of a tactical style light beyond just the headlamp, and of course to have redundancy. So multiple methods for light here, and so I keep a flashlight. Also on the outside of the bag here is this canteen, and this is just a basic thin-walled, single-walled stainless steel canteen, so I can use this to boil and purify water, so that works well. It has a little cooking pot, and that's just stored away in the pocket here, so I've got a way to also boil water there. And yeah, this is a great canteen. I just keep it on the outside, and that's a way for storing water. Okay, now moving inside to this this secondary pocket, let's go ahead and take a look. Right here I've got a little admin pouch, and I keep a few smaller items I don't want to get lost inside the main bag. First thing here is a Suunto compass. It's good to have a reliable compass for navigation. This pairs well with the map that I keep in the vehicle, which is a map of my area, and so I can use that to navigate. Also inside here, I've got a spare pair of lock picks. I do know how to pick locks, and it's a good skill to learn. So this is just an extra pair of Bogota picks, so I can, have them. But I do carry lock picks on my person, so I usually have them anyway. I also have this small little personal alarm, so I won't pull this for the sake of the audio, but if I pulled this tab here, this would make a loud noise, and this is really great to use like at camp or something like that. If you want to set up a bit of a security perimeter, you can tie this up to a rope, and then if it gets tripped, you will be alerted. So that's a really useful tool, especially if you have a couple of them. Okay, next up we've got some water purification. So I've got a Sawyer Mini here. It's got the little pouch bag, and Sawyer Mini's great. They're reliable, and it'll filter plenty of water for short duration survival. I've also got some Whirlpack bags here, and these are just another way to store some extra water on hand if I can't fit everything I need in the canteen. And finally, because I'm in an urban setting, suburban setting, I've got a Silcock key. This will allow me to access water sources from public buildings as a good way to get water. So Silcock key is a great thing to have on you. Continuing on in this pocket here, I've got a titanium spork, so just a good way to, have a meal if you need an extra eating utensil. This pairs well if you've got like a Mountain House meal or something, you can use that. I've got some of these oversized zip ties. These can be used as temporary flex cuffs or to set up shelter, things like that. They're extra large and heavy duty, so they work really well. Again, I'm in the Minnesota area, so I've got a map of my area. I can use this along with the compass for navigation, and so it's important to have a map of your area, even though we rely so much on technology. If that goes out, you're going to need some paper way to get around. I've got some of these storm-proof Post-it notes. These are great for leaving notes. These are really weather resistant, and they stick forever. I put this on a tree outside, and it lasted tons of storms, so these are the Post-it note Extremes. They work super well. Some hand warmers, again, just keeping those priorities warm. Write in the Rain notepad, keeping notes, writing down information, whatever you need. These are waterproof, so they're good to have. I pair that with a couple of writing instruments here. I've got a Fisher Space Pen. I've got it in neon green so I don't lose it. It's really good to have that high vis on your equipment when you can, and of course just a Sharpie, just a sure-proof way of writing. Just a really cheap rain poncho. I can use this to stay out of the elements or as a temporary addition to the shelter, whatever. It's just a really cheap poncho, easy to throw in and lightweight. And again, for redundancy here, I've got just another Bic lighter. This one has the extended reach, so that can be nice, and it's also electronic, so just another simple way to get a fire going. So just this Bic and a little bit of duct tape. So the way I have this bag currently set up is sort of as a 3-season setup. In the wintertime, obviously, we get really extreme temperatures here, and so I do have supplemental gear I keep in the car for warmth and for shelter. So this is set up as a 3-season spring, summer, fall, and so opening that and keeping that in mind, I do keep one Mountain House meal because these work really well. You just need to boil some water and add to it, and they actually taste quite good. This is rice and chicken, super simple. It'll get you a meal, get you some of the energy you need to do whatever tasks at hand. So I do keep a Mountain House meal. As a little bit of added warmth, I just keep a small blanket. Nothing fancy here. It's not a wool blanket. It's just a nice soft little blanket. You could also use this as a bit of a temporary pillow, and that's one of the main reasons I have it in here. Just a little bit of teepee. I keep this here in a bag so it doesn't get wet and start breaking off anywhere, but it's good to have that. I pair that with a shovel that I keep in the car, so if I ever need to go to the bathroom, I've got that covered. I've got a little sleeping pad here. The way I see it is for a get-home bag is you're looking at 1 night max, and so you don't need a full, extreme shelter setup, but you want to be able to sleep comfortably 1 night if needed. So I do have this Climate blow-up sleeping pad, and these work pretty well. They're a little bit annoying to blow up and fold up and put down, but they do work. I've camped with them a lot, so I do keep that in here. Probably one of the most important pieces of kit in here is this shelter pouch, and inside here, again, it's another Hidden Woodsman pouch. I've got everything I need to set up a ridge line and a shelter system. So I've got some duct tape here, which I just keep on a card to give it a good form factor. I've got some 550 paracord here on a spool tool with a mini Bic lighter, so this is a great way to get some cordage, and it's a really compact way to store it as well. So I really like these spool tools. I'll have links to everything here in the description so you can check these out. Here I've got this fast setup ridgeline system, and if you go on YouTube and look this up, it's a really good way to get a ridgeline set up super quickly. It's made by Corporal's Corner, if you've ever seen his channel, and so this just has a couple Prusik loops on a ridgeline here that you can quickly attach to 2 trees and get a shelter set up. So I do keep that prepared and in there. Also here, a heavy-duty milled bag. This is like a 50-gallon bag. This can be used to stuff with insulation, or used as a bedding, or maybe as a windbreaker. Whatever you need, it's a heavy mill bag, and these work really well. Of course, you need something to hold a tarp down, and I've got a tarp in this bag. So here I've just got some little titanium tent spikes. And then I've got some Kevlar cordage, and this is just good for a universal kind of versatile cordage system. And all this would, of course, pair then with the tarp. Now, because I'm not trying to make a big scene when I'm using this get-home bag, I do have it in this sort of olive green color. So just a nice waterproof tarp here. I can use this with the ridge line to get a basic shelter set up. And finally, I've got a 3-season sleeping bag here. This is just a little snug packed sleeping bag. Rated to probably 40 degrees or so. So, again, in the winter, I would rely on that supplemental gear that I have in my car in order to stay warm. But as a 3-season setup, this little bag works well. So paired with the tarp and the ridge line, I'm going to be able to sleep comfortably for a night. And that's the main contents here. Lastly, I'll show you the medical kit, which I keep in the front of the car and would grab and add to this kit in a circumstance that I need it. So we'll quickly go through the medical kit. All right. And one more note on this tarp here, it does have a Mylar interior here. If I open it up, you can see that silver inside, and that's going to reflect and help insulate a lot of that body heat, so you can kind of use this as a thermal insulation as well. So just a good thing to look for in the tarps you get. Okay, so taking a look at the med kit here, I do keep this in the front of the car so I can access it in case of just any vehicle emergency. Right on the outside here, I've got a little CPR mask. If you need to do mouth-to-mouth during CPR, it's good to have that barrier there. Also on the outside, I've got a Leatherman Raptor here. This is a really good medical shear here. They're super strong, super robust. You can use this to get where you need to treat a wound or, whatever you need these for, even if it's just general cutting. The Leatherman Raptors are pretty awesome. I do use red for medical pouches. It's just easy to distinguish by eye. Everyone's gonna know what's inside. And opening it up here, on this main side here, I've got a cat tourniquet. I've got this staged here and ready to use, so I can just expand the whole thing out just like this. You want to make sure you stage your tourniquets so that they're ready to go. They don't come staged, so I would check out Prep Medic's YouTube channel. He does a really good job on this. Here I've got some 3M adhesive tape. I think it's called transport tape. It's really good medical tape. It sticks well, but it also comes off cleanly, so I do use that as my only medical tape. Got some quick clot here if you need to stuff a wound that has a lot of bleeding, stop the hemorrhage there, you can use that. Just a few cleaning wipes. That's just a utilitarian thing to have. And I have an Israeli bandage here. These work really great when you have just a large laceration or something that you want to pressure wrap. I have used one of these before and they work extremely well. I would recommend just opening it up and trying it out one day to get a hand on how to use it. But I really helped somebody out one time by using one of these. In this middle compartment here, I've got some bigger gauze pads underneath. I won't pull these all the way out, but these are just gauze pads. You can use that with the transport tape. Just your basic bandages. I mean, that's what you're going to be using 90% of the time. And a bit of gauze here, again, if you need to wrap a wound. Obviously, ideally, that would be sterilized, but I had to open and use this on a recent climbing trip. Now, one of the reasons I really like this medical bag, it's made by Condor. It's like 25, 30 bucks. It's cheap, but it has this little zipper compartment, which I find extremely useful for keeping medications and stuff like that. So I won't get into everything in here, but this has everything from like anti-diarrheal to your basic, ibuprofens, Tylenols, things to help with basic pain, some alcohol wipes, again, just a bigger thing of Advil because these are going to be the things you need kind of on the normal. So basic kit, but I do have these essential items, the cat tourniquet, the Israeli bandage, and the quick clot for treating some of those more significant wounds. So it's good to have a good medical kit and know how to use everything in it. And I keep this in the car for quick access at the front. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some of this useful. I'm going to leave links to all the gear in the description, so be sure to check it out. It also helps me on this channel. And stay tuned. We're going to have more content coming out soon. So as always, thanks for watching, guys. Stay prepared, and we'll see you on the next video.